Do I regret letting my wife pick this week's movie? No, absolutely not. Even though I don't think Regretting You is a good movie, that doesn't mean it's not worth a watch. There are tons of bad movies that aren't worth watching, one battle after another being one of the more recent movies I've watched that I wouldn't recommend. But Regretting You's different because even though it's bad, it's still pretty funny to watch and see how everything plays out. There are tons of ridiculous scenes and cringy moments in this that had me giggling, so because of that, I do think this movie is worth a watch. Now, what's this movie about, you ask? I'll do my best to explain with no major spoilers. Regretting You is a drama romance that, depending on how you look at it, could definitely be labeled rom com. The movie takes on a serious tone, but because some of the characters' actions are so over the top, you can't help but to find yourself chuckling at the complete nonsense of it all. The movie focuses on the relationship between a mother and daughter named Morgan and Clara. Early on in the movie, there is an accident that causes the death of Morgan's husband, Chris, and her sister, Jenny. Clara looked up to both Chris and Jenny, so now Morgan has to figure out how to strengthen her relationship with her daughter Clara, being that both of Clara's role models are now gone. It's also revealed early on that Chris and Jenny were having an affair, leaving Morgan feeling kind of betrayed and not wanting to tell Clara, just kind of in an effort to preserve her dad and her aunt's memory. We also get to follow Jonah, who recently had a baby with Jenny, but has always loved Morgan. He's also left feeling pretty betrayed when he quickly finds out about the affair between Chris and Jenny. I believe he's the first person to find out about it. And then as the story progresses, we get to see Morgan and Jonah rekindle their relationship that should have been as they move on from the deaths of their spouses. We also get to see Clara develop her relationship with a guy named Miller, and we get to watch her deal with the loss of her dad and aunt. That's pretty much all I can say without getting into spoilers, so this is your spoiler warning. Anyway, throughout the movie, we get to see Morgan and Jonah develop their relationship as well as Clara and Miller. Even though these relationships aren't necessarily, or they are the highlighted ones, the relationship that like really drives the plot is the relationship between Morgan and Clara. So even though we have like the two actual loving relationships between Morgan and Jonah, we also have the one between Clara and Miller. The highlight of this entire movie and why the movie goes round is because of the mom and daughter, so Morgan and Clara. Morgan's doing her best to hide the fact that Chris and Jenny were honestly terrible people, but in doing so, that kind of causes Clara to misunderstand a lot of Morgan's motives and behaviors. This leads to Clara acting out frequently, and which further damages their relationship. But as people start telling the truth, and Clara figures out what was actually going on, Clara becomes more understanding of Morgan, and they're able to move on and make amends. Now, I wanted to spend some time talking about all the major characters in this movie, starting with Chris and Jenny. They aren't in the movie that long since they die in the car accident super early in the movie, and because of that, it's honestly super easy to start hating on them whenever we find out about their affair. We see Jenny be somewhat cool with Clara, but the only memorable scene we have with Chris is at the beginning when he's being a dick to Morgan and saying how he likes her better when she's drunk. So it's really easy to dislike both Chris and Jenny. There's almost nothing redeemable about either of them. And it really doesn't help that we don't see them that much in the movie, and what we do see of them just isn't really that good. Next up is Clara and Miller. Clara's pretty annoying at times, but she does have enough redeemable qualities that by the end of it, I do think she is a good character. It's easy to understand why she acts the way she does, and she will most likely be one of the more relatable characters in the film. Miller, on the other hand, I'd say is pretty great overall, and I think his only major flaw is the girlfriend shit he kept pulling earlier in the movie. It was obvious he wanted to be with Clara, but for a while, right before things would kick off, he'd pull the "oh, but I have a girlfriend" card. And then we never even see his girlfriend, by the way. And in the end, we see a video he makes about how if Clara drives back to pick him up, he'll dump his current girlfriend. So it was like this whole movie, he's just planning to be with Clara the entire time. But he has a girlfriend in the background who we just never get to see. But he literally makes a video being like, "Oh, Clara, if you like come back and pick me up on the side of the road, like I'll dump my girlfriend and go out with you." And she does. She goes back and picks him up, and it still takes him like 2 business weeks to break break up with his mystery girlfriend and then start going strong with Clara. But besides that malarkey, I honestly think he's fairly redeemable. I just thought that the girlfriend shit was a little like stupid. But besides that, yeah, I think he's all right. He's all right. He's a good character. Probably one of the better ones. Uh, Finally, we have Morgan and Jonah. I think I like the relationship between these two the best, but it's their relationship's really cringy at times. There's a flashback scene where they're holding onto this pool floaty and they kind of like slip because they're both trying to like balance on it. And it causes them to like lock legs under the pool. And I swear it looked like Jonah was about to bust a fucking nut like on the spot. Like the face he makes is just like he's nutting in the pool. Like he touches a woman for the first time and he's just it's just semen all over the place. Uh, Jonah's played by Dave Franco, and I swear he made the same face he makes. I think it's in Neighbors when he's forcing himself to get a boner like on the spot. Yeah, it's if you know that scene, it's the same face. It's literally the exact same face. It was such an insignificant moment, but they became extremely serious for some reason, and it just ended up being laughable, especially just with the facial expressions. Another thing that Jonah does is give his baby to Morgan because he thought the baby had the same smile as Chris. Uh, so Jonah ends up walking into or coming over to Morgan's house after the death of what is it, Chris and Jenny, and he has the his baby that he thought was his and Jenny's, but it's actually Chris and Jenny's the whole time. So he reasonably crashes out about it. But I just think it's kind of weird that he pulls up to Morgan's house. He has the baby. He's like, he smiled like Chris did, and he hands the baby off to her, and he fucks out somewhere else. He's like, oh my gosh, it was so ridiculous. And I just thought for him to hand deliver the baby to Morgan and not go back for it until Clara, the daughter, had enough of it and knocked some sense into him. Like that's when he finally goes back to get it. So he does go back and he does feel bad about leaving it, but it was just funny how it played out and seeing how over the top he was about it. Jonah's writing is honestly pretty bad as a whole, which sucks because I think it hurts like Jonah and Morgan's relationship, which I think should have been like undeniably the strongest relationship in the movie. And then finally, we have Morgan, who's just taking hits left and right and not doing much about it. Like, she really just takes everything that is thrown at her from the affair to planning two funerals, dealing with Clara, dealing with Jonah's baby for a little bit, all while trying to do what's best for her as well. And by the end of it, I do think Morgan was my favorite character, but I didn't feel like she was as good as she probably could have been. I'm not really sure what was like missing with her, but there was definitely like some layer that I just felt like wasn't there. Also, an honorable mention for a side character I really liked was Lexi, which is Clara's friend. There's a dinner scene with all the main cast and Lexi, and for some reason, at that dinner scene, like just imagining it from Lexi's perspective is just so funny. Just because they're all arguing and they all know like kind of bits and pieces what's going on, and Lexi's just there like has no fucking clue what's going on. But she makes light of it. She cracks a joke in there, and I thought it was pretty silly. So it was just something quick I wanted to mention. Just I liked that part. Overall, the entire movie is just tons of drama, and I recommend going in without taking anything serious whatsoever because you will get a lot of laughs out of this movie. Also, I was the only dude walking out of the theater, which was silly, but I had a good time. I did like the movie, and I would recommend watching it at least once. It's not a good movie, but it is laughably bad, which I think makes for an overall good experience. Anyway, I'm gonna rate this movie a solid like 7 out of 12 eggs because again, even though it's not a great movie, I found it funny and I had a good time watching it. Anyway, that's all for now. Have a good one and eat some eggs.